All right, we've all heard now Jonathan Gruber saying that voters are stupid. That was in a soundbite, series of soundbites. But is a current White House aide assuming voters are stupid in a tweet? President Obama's economic advisor, Betsy Stevenson, tweeting this, and I quote, "Did you know that more than half of minimum wage workers are women? It's time to raise the wage." And info attached saying that this should surprise you, but when you look at this, not too surprising. More than half of minimum wage workers are women, because more than half of the population are women. Tweeters quickly catching on to this and then blasting. Did you know that more than half of the population are women? Hashtag not news. Aren't there more women in the USA than men? So wouldn't that make perfect sense? Another. So if I'm against the minimum wage increase, I'm sexist? And finally, oh, Betsy, you're just the king of gal Gruber loves. And Independent Women's Forum, Hadley Heath, says the administration hopes voters are simply too stupid for all these latest so-called irrelevant facts. Where was she going with this, Hadley? I had a tough time understanding it.
Well, it's pretty clear the politics of the current administration are to focus on women as a subset of voters that they want to appeal to. This has been a tactic they've been using for years. But really the pattern that I see connecting the Obamacare debate and the debate over minimum wage is to focus solely on the purported benefits of these issues, these policies, instead of also having an honest conversation with voters about the costs and consequences here.
And what about just looking at it in mathematical perspective, regardless of whether it's men or women, that it's a small slice of the total working population? We get distracted on this and so focused on this subset of a group that the middle class, the vast middle class, is totally forgotten.
Exactly. Well, it is true that women do tend to congregate in lower paying jobs and in minimum wage jobs, but actually the percentage of hourly paid women working in those minimum wage jobs has decreased very much since 1979, when about 20% of hourly paid women were working in minimum wage jobs. Today it's about 5%. So women in a way are closing the gap. But really our economic policy shouldn't focus on so much dividing the economy into men and women's interests, but to recognize that at the end of the day we want to maximize opportunity for social mobility and maximize real wage growth for workers regardless of their sex or their socioeconomic status.
But, Hallie, do you think that this is all a strategy for a presidential election year when these type of groups, your core base, is more inclined to come out and vote than they would, let's say, in a midterm election? So get the young, get the women, get minorities, get those who are fired up to come out for an election they didn't come out for this time. And these wedge issues, say what you will of them, are effective at doing that.
Well, hopefully, I don't believe that the American voters are too stupid to understand that there is another side to these arguments, that you can argue that maybe some women could experience a short-term increase if minimum wage were to increase, but the long-term effect of this kind of policy will put the very same group of minimum wage workers at risk for losing their jobs when you raise the cost of employment. So my hope is that the discussion surrounding these policy issues would not be a soundbite discussion, but would actually focus on the true economic impact. And that way voters can vote with a truly independent way of thinking and one that considers all sides of the argument.
That is very well put, Hadley, but you make way too much sense, so you're going nowhere fast. Hadley Heath Manning, thank you very, very much. It's true. What she said is true. Meanwhile, forget the 86 million Americans who've given up looking for a job. What if I told you they don't even want a job, but they do want something else? Guess what that is? And guess who is paying for it?